Hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome once again to another episode of the P.W.P sessions. I am your host, Noelle Figueroa, aka the poet, aka the anointed pen. I'm excited and honored tonight to have another awesome poet and author in their own right by the name of Amira Shabazz-Bilal tonight. Before we get started, I'm going to just share my screen to just go over a few preliminaries. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. As I mentioned, this is episode 17 of the P.W.P sessions. And tonight I'm welcoming poet and author Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with this podcast, the P.W.P sessions is a show or a podcast rather where I interview new or established authors of poetry, and I give them an opportunity to perform some of their poetry during the podcast, and afterwards we take time out for an audience Q&A session. I am your host, Noelle Figueroa. I am a poet, author, blogger, workshop facilitator, and event host, and I am the creator of the P.W.P sessions. And here's a bio of tonight's guests, Ms. Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal. Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal is from Newark, New Jersey. She has a unique talent for telling stories through poetry and visual arts. She is also a teacher and photographer. Amira is the founder, facilitator of When Women Speak and When Women Speak poetry platforms for creative voices, support, and empowerment. She is the author and illustrator of Breathing Through Concrete, a poetry anthology. Her works are featured in publications Every Kind of Lady and her sister pages, Philadelphia Says, Black Lives Matter, Womb of the Violet, 2, American Muslim Journal, Soup Can Magazine, Issue 2, online published, Life in Quarantine, Global Pandemic. She has to her credit the inspiring and publishing of over 300 student authors / illustrators and the facilitation of many student performances. Amira has performed on platforms such as When Women Speak, the Lincoln Park Poetry Festival, NBPAC, the Newark Arts Festival, the Hartford Literary Festival, and the Patterson Poetry Festival. She is a board member for Keys to Success, an organization cultivating students in the area of classical music, and a photographer with work in multiple galleries and exhibits throughout New Jersey. She has shared her work on stages such as the Lincoln Park Music Festival, NBPAC, New Eurekan Poets Cafe, the Newark Arts Festival, and multiple other creative venues. Her mantra is, poetry isn't poetry unless it's spoken word. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Ms. Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal. Hi, Amira, good evening. How are you tonight?
Well, I guess it would help if I turned my mic on. Hi, I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. I'm very excited about this conversation. Thank you so much for being my guest this evening on this episode.
You're welcome.
So we're gonna get right down to it. As with my previous guests, I'm gonna start off with a basic question. Who is Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal? How would you describe yourself or define yourself?
Wow, that's a crazy question right now because Amir Shabazz-Bilal is ever changing, ever evolving every day, and the Amira that you see today is probably not the same Amira that you saw yesterday, nor will it be the Amira that you'll see tomorrow. So right now, I'm out there trying to establish a platform that would empower and help women find their their creativeness, their creative voices, nurture them, support them, and also give them or provide for them a space where they could perform their poetry, short stories, narratives, memoirs, all types of things of that nature. I'm also a photographer. I'm a teacher. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a variety of things, but what I've been finding out is I'm finding more out about myself each and every day. So I find there's something else about me which makes up who I am every single day.
Awesome, awesome. Now, where would you say your poetic journey began? You know, everybody has a different start and, you know, different reasons for being a poet. What would you say your reasons or inspirations are to getting started with poetry?
Well, firstly, I enjoy poetry. I always enjoyed it. I never considered myself a poet. I considered myself a writer, and not necessarily a poet. I like to tell short stories. And so I began to venture out into the poetry community, and I realized that I really was a poet, just by nature or by the nature of what I was writing and what I was sharing with others. So that journey came out of the existence of something I never knew that it was there. I've been writing for years. I've been coaching others to write. I've been even coaching others to perform. I've written shows and poetry sessions for young adults because I've been a facilitator of youth poetry groups for many years now, always having a performance where they would showcase their talent, but I never took the stage. So once I realized that that was a natural space for me, I began to share my work more and more. And it's just been an explosion since then.
Awesome, awesome. Do you recall the very first subjects that you started tackling as a poet in the beginning?
It was always activism. It was always telling the story of roots. Not only can I tell you the first poem, I could tell you the first venue and I could tell you who I was with because I was very much afraid. I was very much afraid, as you know, as a writer, creator, an author, poet yourself, that when you write something, it's a part of you. It's almost like a child. And the last thing that you want to do is to have somebody criticize it in a negative way. Yeah, there's positive criticism, which could help you grow, but you become awkward in how much do I tell? How much of the story do I tell? And is it worth listening to? Because all I really want is to tell the story, and all I really want is for you to understand it.
Right, right. So it was a matter of you building up a sense of bravery and the willingness to be transparent. Is that correct?
Bravery, transparency, which I still haven't had full transparency. That other syndrome, the imposter syndrome, is real. It's real. And then coming into the community where in the beginning, everybody around was like a slam poet. I'm not a slam poet.
Right.
So I also felt awkward in that existence because I like to tell stories. I'm not slamming. And the other thing that kind of made me a little unnerved was no matter what venue I was in locally, I was usually the oldest person there, and not quite sure if they would understand the origins of a lot of my pieces. So it took me a minute to figure out there are many kinds of poets. Everybody has a spot. Recognize, appreciate. Um, Everybody belongs here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one of the things I learned myself as a fellow poet, you know, to embrace your uniqueness and to embrace your own ability to tell a story from your perspective without the restraints of trying to fit in or or the need to be accepted.
Yeah. But it's real. You do want to be accepted. You do want another poet to come up to you and say, wow, that was phenomenal. You do want others to give you feedback. Well, maybe if you try this, maybe if you try that, you do want that. But at the same time, you don't want to be ridiculed. You don't want to be in a position where people, and this is not literal, but people are throwing tomatoes at you because you know,
Right,
stink so bad. So
right,
there's a little bit of everything in that. But most
right,
importantly, I want you to hear this story.
right. Absolutely, and no doubt criticism is always welcome. You know, the right criticism, because then there's a right criticism and then there's a wrong criticism. You know, so positive criticism is always welcome, but even the sense that, you know, you don't want to be a prisoner to acceptance either. You
Mhm.
know, there's the realization that, you know, not everyone's going to accept what you have to say, and us getting as courts, you know, getting to a place of accepting that, you know, and just, you know, locking into the fact that there's a specific set of people assigned to you as a writer that will appreciate your work, and just focusing on that.
That's the truth.
Right, right. And now, what would you say your motivation is? You know, after getting to the place of, you know, overcoming your initial fears and, you know, concerns, what was your motivation to keep going?
When I did that first poem and somebody responded understanding, when they came up and they said, my God, you just told my story. When the reality was I was telling my story and her story and her story and her story. But the fact that somebody actually appreciated it, it was not about money or anything like that. It was about, I need to have this story told. I need you to hear it. And if it can help you, that would be great. But I need to tell it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, you never know. I've always said you never know the impact of what you have to say. It could be that one person that makes all the difference to make you realize that, you know, what you have to say is valid, and leaves a positive impact with that person as well as with yourself, you know, because it gives you validity for your words.
And I'm also like, the other thing that makes me laugh about the style of poetry that I do, like I'm a sad poet. Like sometimes I put out a disclaimer. Listen, guys, I'm gonna bring your mood down right now when I do these next two poems, but I promise in the end, I'll do something cheery to bring you back up, because some of the stories are not necessarily pretty stories.
Right, right. And that just shows, you know, your ability to be multifaceted, you know, because, you know, our lives aren't always happy and cheerful. You know, we have to walk with the good and the bad, and your ability to, you know, translate that into words, you know, is very impressive, if I do say so myself. You know, you have your own unique way of telling your stories, and I give you honor right now for the willingness to put those, you know, stories and emotions into words to share with the world.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very hard. And you know as well as I know, when you stand up there in front of an audience with a mic in your hand, with a piece of your soul about to spill out over your lips, you just want it to be accepted. You know, you want it to rest on somebody's heart somewhere out there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And fellow poet Katsusia Apollon just joined us tonight, and she says in the chat that she says I can completely relate.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's your presence and your emotions as a writer, you know, is definitely relatable. And speaking of which, who or what would you say has helped you to develop your style of writing?
I think I'm a combination of different things. You know, like I definitely feel a vibe with like the Lost Poets. I definitely feel a vibe with Sonia Sanchez. I definitely feel a vibe with most people who, even if they're a slam poet, their poetry has depth. You know, like there are 3-minute pops, but in that 3 minutes, if they can reach out to me and touch me, then I connect with them and I feel inspired by that. The truth of it is, I like a variety of people. So I don't know if there's one. I'm a great fan of Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Yeah, I can't put my finger on a particular person because I may like this person's style. I may like this, the way that this person presents themselves. But again, as a poet, you want to cultivate your own. You want to look at somebody, you want to study somebody, and you want to see how did they make themselves great. But at the same time, you don't want to be like them because everybody is an individual. And the minute that you begin to copy something, it's not you, it's not genuine. So yeah, that's a kind of heavy story or heavy question, what the inspiration is or who inspires me, because it's a bunch of people.
Right, right. And I totally can understand and relate to that because I have, different inspirations myself. I kind of pull from different people, even people such as yourself and, other poets that I've met, Kat Susia on the line tonight. I pull from her work, inspiration. So I'm, I have like a well, more or less, a well of people to pull
Yes.
from, like glorious amounts of inspiration that help to motivate myself in my own writing journey. So it's a beautiful thing when you have that much inspiration around you, to push you into your own lane as a writer and a poet.
Absolutely.
Now, I celebrate with you. I know I probably mentioned this to you a while back, and I think I believe I bought a copy from you, Breathing Through Concrete. First and foremost, congratulations again on this release.
Thank you.
And just for clarity, is this your very first book of poetry?
Actually, it's not. It is the first one that has been released this way. So in terms of a first, I could call it my first book, but it really isn't. There was one before that, which I plan to redo, revamp it, and re-release it, at some point in my life. But Breathing Through Concrete is an anthology of people's lives, most specifically people that I've encountered as a teacher, whether it be students, whether it be their parents. It's the lives that they live that people don't necessarily see when they see a student or when they see a student struggling. They have no idea what's behind that. What do they breathe from? Where are they coming from? And why is it that it seems like it's a difficult task for them to be able to achieve? It's because the breathing is labored and they have so many things that you and I probably never have to worry about, nor do our children, that these kids, these women are worried about every single day of their lives surviving.
Right, and that's awesome. And I got to read some of the book, and I got to look through it, and the imagery of the words, as well as I noticed that you included some artists, some artwork in there as well. The combination of the words and the pictures is just it's an awesome collection of poetry.
Thank you.
Very, very inspiring. Would you say this release was self-published?
Actually, I was working with Rebel Publishing to do this first book because as we talked earlier, at that point I was going through something. I was going through this imposter syndrome. Do I belong here? Is this stuff any good? So I really needed to work with other creatives that could say, yeah, heck yeah, this is good. Change this around, reorder the book, let us read it. I needed that. So I didn't want to jump out there and just be the person that self-published without having that feedback. I need that. So it was published with Rebel Publishing Company.
Right, that's awesome. That's awesome. And how would you describe the experience of putting this book together from the time of conception to actually getting it finished?
This book, as I mentioned, is an anthology of people's lives. So the poems they already existed, and they had already been performed on a stage in a reading, that kind of thing. So the experience was, which ones do I select? And how do I have the entire anthology tell a story and have a beginning, middle, and end? So if you kind of pay close attention to the ordering of the book, it begins at birth. And then into the body of the book, it talks about that time, which we call the dash between birth and death, how they're living it, who they're living it with, what are the encounters, what are the experiences, good and bad. And then it ends with these souls or the characters in the book returning to ashes. and they're waiting for the rebirth of the phoenix so that they could live again and breathe without being labored in their quest. So I'm envisioning that book number 2 will be a little lighter in terms of having those moments of breath and ease. So I think that's the direction that I'm going to be going in with that.
Awesome, awesome. And what would you say the response has been to this project?
The response has been overwhelmingly pleasant. Sold a lot of copies, still selling copies, going to different venues, performing the poems out of the book, having people respond in such a positive manner that it just makes it, lets me know that it was worth it. It was worth the struggle. It was worth the time. God gave us the pandemic, you know what I mean? So like you had time to do the finishing edges. You had nothing but time. Why not use it? So it was published during the pandemic. The only downfall I would say to having that book published during a pandemic was the rights that an author, a new author would normally want were forgone because we couldn't meet. I couldn't have a regular book signing, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it was just a pride in just having it. And even more of a pride when people stop me and say, you know, that poem, it was talking to me. Or I live that, you know that poem that you talked about this when you're really not even thinking, because sometimes people will just buy your book just to support you and they don't really read it. But
Right.
these people were actually reading it and inboxing me or texting me or meeting me in the street and telling me about a specific poem. So that meant a lot to me.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing when your work is able to resonate with your audience. You know, that leaves a lasting impression, and it's also very inspiring.
And so the thing with Breathing Through Concrete is that I'm the author of it. Each poem is more or less a composite of people, not necessarily one person, but various people's lives into one character, so to speak. So I'm the author, and I'm also the illustrator. So like all of the art that you see in the book, I did that as well. So I want to grow that a little bit. I want to do a little different kind of publication the next time, where the art is like bleeding off of the page, because I have a ton of images that I'd also like to include with the next publishing.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
From the book, is there any particular poems from the book that stand out to you more than others?
Okay, so there's a trilogy in there, and maybe folks don't really know the connection of the trilogy. And this is what started that journey of that anthology. It is the characters of a boy and a girl. And what happens with these two kids is they meet sometime in their life. In the beginning, they don't know that they're related. And then as the story unfolds, they share a common parent, which they didn't know about because of their lives, foster care, not living with both parents at any given time, living in foster systems, whatever the case may be. Right. So once they find out that they are siblings, they form a bond. So in the book is the girl story where it's called They Be Clapping, where they come and they remove from the school social services. And that one stands out. It's riveting because it's a true story. And you don't know what that feels like to watch a child being taken from even if it's a bad everything, taken from everything that they know and placed into the wilderness. And we expect them to rebound as if they're a piece of clothing. So that's the girl's story. The boy's story is that the mother is constantly finding herself at the bottom of society, not having enough, not knowing enough, not being really in a position to take care of her child the way that she should be. So she relies on the society at large. The boy is so angered by the things that he sees at home that he comes into the school environment and he misbehaves.
Right.
and people are trying to figure it out. Well, what's going on? In the meantime, at home, it's a horror show.
Right.
And then the third part of that trilogy is once the girl and the boy get together and they realize they're siblings, the boy is actually murdered, leaving the girl on her own again. So that third poem is the first poem is They Be Clapping. The second poem is I know this tongue. I forget. I know this tongue. I forgot the rest of it. It's about the tongue. And then the last one is Angel Down. So it's kind of like a not so happy story. And yeah, those are the ones that stand out to me. They're connected. They're really one poem, but it's broken into three.
Awesome, awesome. Now, when you write these poems, do you find it in a sense to be therapeutic for you? Maybe with not all of your poetry, but would you find some of your poetry to be therapeutic, especially when you're tackling these tough subjects?
I absolutely find it to be therapeutic, and I'll tell you why. Did I lose you guys?
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay, and I'll tell you why. There are times in your life when all you have is your journal, your book, what you're writing in, your poems, and yourself. And so the therapy comes when it comes out of your head and out of your heart, and it's onto a paper. You've relieved yourself of it. It's no longer harbored. It doesn't cause you any pain. It doesn't cause you any disease inside. And we have we have to learn how to relinquish ourselves of these kinds of cancerous emotions. So the way to do that is to write on a paper or in a journal. And so poetry is definitely therapy.
Now, in putting together this book, do you feel that there's anything that you would do differently, or do you feel it was done exactly how you wanted it? Like, do you feel it totally embodies the vision that you've had for it?
It was kind of close, but it did not encompass what I had in mind as a photographer, as a digital, like I go a little bit into digital art from the photography. I wanted more colorful images. I wanted images that bled into the page. I wanted watermarkings, and that's what I'm going to try to go for the next book, because the art has to also speak. The photos have to tell their story without words, so they have to come out a little bit more.
Right.
And yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, the images are wonderful, but I think the next time you're going to see more color. If you pick up a copy of Soup Can magazine, there's a 4-page spread there where you see some of my images, and so you can get a better feel for what I mean when I say that they have to tell their story too.
Right.
So that's the change that I would make.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Once it's all put together, for sure. Do you feel that there's certain subjects that you gravitate to more than others, or do you feel there's like a balance of subject matter?
There is no balance. And I have this conversation over and over again with myself, because I don't want to be the one where you already got an idea of what I'm going to talk about when I come up. Like, I want to have a range. When I was speaking with another poet friend of mine, and he said, you do have a range. And so he started calling out the poems that are different. But in my heart, I know what I gravitate towards. Those stories of children and those stories of women. I don't have any love poems. Maybe one or two. I'm not that kind of poet. I have a lot of revolutionary activism, historical perspective poems, and those are the ones I enjoy the most.
Awesome, awesome. Now, one important question I want to ask you before we move forward into letting you hit the mic. I'm quite sure you've heard conversations about representation. Now, in terms of being an author and a poet, how important is it for you to make sure that you're representing yourself in your totality, like in terms of your womanhood, your race, ethnicity, religion, culture, you know, all of those things combined. How important is it to you to make sure that you're embodying all of those facets of yourself in their totality?
Okay, so that's an easy question because 3 out of the list that you gave, there's no mistaking who I am. There's no mistaking that I'm a Black woman. Maybe people always ask, what are you? Do I have to put a maybe on that one? There's no mistaking that I am woman. There's no mistaking that I am Muslim. I'm a covering, practicing Muslim woman, and I do adhere to standards. So what I mean by that, there's certain types of poetry that I will not involve myself in. There are certain forums where certain types of poems are presented. I don't gravitate towards those venues. It's really important that we tell truths. We connect the current generation to our history because they don't know it. And you can't be woke if you don't know it.
Right.
I think that's the journey that I'm blessed to be here without me consciously thinking about it. That's where I am. And so my the total spectrum of who I am are all of those things: nurturer, storyteller, creative, supporter, woman, Muslim. That's me.
Awesome. And I believe from my perspective, based on what I've observed of you, I believe that you embrace all of those facets effortlessly. And I say effortlessly because, you know, it comes easy when you're just being yourself.
Yes.
And I think you just have a natural flow to yourself because you're comfortable in who you are and what you stand for. So I applaud you for being yourself. I applaud you for, you know, you sharing your unbridled truth and reaching people that you feel you're intended to reach.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the podcast I'm quite sure you've all been waiting for. And I've surely been in anticipation because it is now time for Amira to take the mic. Now, Amira, at this time, you are welcome to share up to 5 poems. You don't have to share 5, but I want to take this time to give you the floor to share some poetry so our audience can have an idea of who you are as a poet and the subject matter that you cover. Now, I do have one request. Now, please forgive me. I don't remember the title of the poem, but I do remember that one of the lines spoken in the poem was something along the lines of "My heart bellows." Is that correct?
Oh, bellow. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. So if you can, please do that one. That was one powerful piece that really resonated with me.
Okay, bellow. All right. Okay, so I'll start. Let me see. Where am I? Let's do some historical connections. When they told you you were from nothing and you believed it. They told you without words. What is it? What is it? What is it that they will say? What is it that they say? I can show you better than I can tell you. And they blinded your sight too, but it penetrated as your sight was already theirs. They believed in their souls. You were there. You were there. So they believed in their souls that you were theirs to be a part of the mold. They branded you with scars so that no magic passed down through generations and bled through skin and flesh, touching bone to be carried, hoping the cast penetrated cells and mixed with DNA, which by the way, the DNA was partly theirs. When they told you you were from nothing and you believed it, no language, no home, no roots, they told you it was theirs. What was it that they said? When I take you on this journey, your home is no longer your home. When I cut blood from your arteries and you bleed out into the planks and feed brethren and rats and souls of traveling mates, crossing the geometry of triangles of evil, the triangles of evil. Now that it's yours, those stains seep deep, they penetrate and pass through walls of time without words. See, they tried to show you who they really were as they blinded you from connections to earths, which makes souls hurt, but comfort too, and toes, hold feet, grab hold to be rooted and belong and not sold. Call them thieves. When they told you you were from nothing and you believed it, did anyone ever test their truths? Like nothing doesn't taste like sweetness of yams, or nothing doesn't look like the beauty of a Picasso. Life has to be passed on. Life was given by Henrietta as they took it herself and made it theirs. And every form of musical, rhythmic, melody, and floor scrapping, tapping, dance, they stole. You ain't from nothing. Can't you hear that? Damn it, all America is stolen, including you. Where were you? Were you from nothing? Where you from nothing comes from something. Is that what they say? Braids look better on bow. Cornrows, canneros, Ethiopia, or Didi, Shuku, Yoruba, it knows its home. Them they drums, them they drums, them they drums, hoopy dance, boot tapping, foot stepping from Soweto's bellies, aye, Zulu, Zulu, Zulu. The Dembe has a body hard as wood, deep in tone, void of the burn of the sun. It beats in hearts, even when they are torn apart. Follow the melody. It will lead you home. Their cover is blown. Bongo, Congo, ebony keys slide perfectly next to ivory. Where did they steal it from? Gumbo, jumbo, jazz, jive, juke, when they told you you were from nothing. Kalimba, Lapa, Mambo, swing, daddy, swing. All church girls don't sing. Some belt out the gospel, making your soul grab onto the Lord, but they whisper their melodies. They whisper their melodies, hiding who they be, probably. Going on Sambo safaris, sampling okra and yams, and now zebra print. Who they be? When they told you you were from nothing and you believed it, they told you without words. What is it that they say? Sprinkle some salt and find the pieces of you.
Wow.
Do I just go on to the next one? Or
yes, that's fine. That was powerful, by the way. Powerful.
Thank you. Singing black girl songs from hearts before me. When I sat down to soak my feet, it wasn't my fault that the water displaced itself enough to drown you. I could hear my soul yell out, take her and him too. My laughter into cries birthed forth a river, which I knew would drown a few. I had forgotten. Loud laughter from within. No more is it a sin to want and wish them gone into forever. I never liked them anyway, tears. I never liked tears anyway. I mean, they give away my fragility. I'm strong. I'm mean. I'm a mean mother. Shut your mouth. Oh my God, there goes them tears again. I swear I hate them, but I'm no longer blue. I can forget. I can forgive. I can't forget. I can't forget them. And you too. Waist deep now, I'm wading in the water, singing my spirituals, and I ain't even Christian, but I'm Black though. I'm Black, and Black girls always wishing somebody be dead. Drowned and died, I tried. I cried until I had no more tears, that is. My feet feel good, done drowned them toes from sorrow in my jeers and tears. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good, singing black girl songs, from hearts before me. I know not when it began, nor will it end. Langston had a mother and a song. Freedom has to be deaf. Hearing binds, eyes can be deceived in faraway places. My soul travels without me. Friends stare and smile even. I hear laughter that isn't as it echoes in chambers I have long ago struggled to define. Maya, that phenomenal woman, Maya's song. Cage bird, cage bird, cage bird, soul's rage flows and flies freely through covered bars of prisons, which are everywhere and nowhere. Free yourself, free yourself. Lorraine's song, to be free. What would that mean? To be young, gifted, and black, and to be free. What would that mean? Transform. Don't let them see, let the melodies carry you out through pierced hearts and mellow madness. To be young, gifted, and black. My song, my song, my song. Smile, friends. I know a cage bird smiles too. Freedom sometimes means death. We are all somebody, and I'm tired of paying this debt. Somebody owes us. Let the debt be free. Somebody gotta hold the keys to life. Freedom ain't always free. Cages for caged hearts. Hold the rage. Madness crumbles and melts bars. Pushes you further from free. Jimmy's song, Jimmy. Learn to be free, not bound, untie your soul, not bound by anything, just free. Death is free. Ask me, I know. I know how to be. Smile, laugh, sing, dance, provoke, live, love, live beyond enemy lines, free at last. Cry inside. Freedom ain't free for caged birds who sing. I was once told that fear and faith can't occupy the same space. I feel free enough to time. I feel free enough time. I feel free enough. It's time to leave. Faith has given up on me and left me like a discarded lover, lonely, vulnerable, and with no way of winning. And if you cannot leave, it must lead and fuel adrenaline that's on purpose to move you out. And when I sat down to sing Black girl songs and soak my feet, it wasn't my fault that the water displaced itself enough to drown you. The old me that is. I set her free. I could hear her yell out, "You curse breaker." My laughter cries birthed forth a river which I knew would drown a few I had forgotten. But I'm Black though, I'm Black. I'm Black, and Black girls always wishing somebody be dead. Drowned and died, I tried. I cried until I had no more tears, that is. Ah, my feet, they feel good. Then drowned them toes from sorrow in my jeers and my tears. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life, and I'm feeling so, so good.
Yes. Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna do Bello.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Let the art call you. Let the art call you from concrete places. Lift your soul as voices call out, raising, leaving droplets of fire, toasted breadcrumbs to paths, so follow. She speaks of softness with bruises and hearts. He speaks of manhood with scars through most parts. So we ask, if both are so broken, how can they raise up any morsel whole? And the new birth after his aftermath of afterbirth springs forward with hopes and dreams of freedoms that as time goes on, he knows will never ring for him. So he crushes paths through abandoned forests, left untamed by moms and dads, perished or tied in links to the past that master taught them not. Nor do they know how to clear their hearts, their minds, to move on. And even when they think they know, they are weary and far from clear the road that is. So progenies find themselves lost and found again and again and again and on repeat. So here's the story of Black little Bo Peeps with lots of lost sheep wandering the wilderness except for one. His vision is magic, his power be life, he bleeds scriptures. He has never ever been fed. He bleeds scriptures that he has never been fed, but his power blooms from what he has read. He be poet and art by his very nature. Scriptures too run from his lips, and his power be just like Eve, for he forgives her too. He knows the real Eve as he be Adam's soul. He knows women, all springs from them. And he knew he'd be nurtured at her hem. So he learned broken bits as he suckled droplets from her withering tits. Pages of Aleph, Lam, Meme are dropped, giving light and passages through the night. So who can see? They yell from far places, yo, they too had slavery. Ain't no religion never gonna set you free. But you know it was. You know it was. You know it was man who enslaved, and God, Allah, free souls from caves. He say, let there be light. He say, kun fayakun, be, and it is. This here ain't about man, but you hear with your soul. Its journey is far deeper than any track here, and strength and purpose be clear and not human tame. So follow. He's on the cusp of reality and the realm of sainthood. Wingless angels carry him to victory. And if one baby makes it through, you will know the truth of Baba Black Sheep. His wool will cut you deep. His knowledge is high and steep. He whispers to angels who blew breaths, molding persons from mud, essence deep in ferment, casting black molds of melanin crowns. He'll stand on his hilltops. He'll stand on lit hilltops, flowing verbiage of how he can't stop the music. He can't stop the music or the verses of any haiku, which this ain't no poem. It ain't. Awaiting a whole nation's conscience to follow and will be lit too. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is life-saving. He holds no keys. Listen with your soul. Gather it up and lead. Hilltops await you too. Step out of the valley and be free. Man is an anomaly. Mama be trapped. Papa be strapped. Baby fights through. Tapping to a beat, cause he can't stop the music as he stomps out lunacy with his very own feet. And poets and poets and poets do what they do, they speak. So let art call you from jungles and concrete. Let your mind, body, and soul meet. Your destiny void of others' feet await you. Find courage, live it. And the last poem is Bellow. Now, this last poem was written during the pandemic. And well, I'll let it speak for itself. I want to stand here and bellow. I want to stand here and bellow names. I want to, in a surreal sort of way, pay tribute to the fallen, not the falling of violence of the street, not the falling of the violence of the street wars, but the falling of the pandemic blues, pandemic hard breaths, pandemic nobody coming to see you, pandemic like blowing kisses through glass, pandemic like tubes and blowing and pressing sounds of breathing apparatus blues, body bags and freezer trucks full, morgue schedules. I want to bellow. I want to bellow. I want to go to your funeral and say my finals properly. I want to bellow. I want to bellow. I want to feel like I want to say your name with no vaccine. I want to bellow. I want to say your name. I want to kiss you through mask. I want to kiss you without mask. Just make it last. I want to bellow. I want to bellow. I want to say your name without quarantining my voice for 14 days into forever because you are not here. I want to bellow. I want to bellow. I want to say your name. You died without my touch. I want to bellow. I want to say your name into tomorrow and believe you were not alone. I want to bellow. I want to bellow because our souls touched and traveled and loved and lived and died as one. When you said, I can't breathe. When you said I can't breathe in politics, and politics overruled your ability to receive. I want to bellow. I want to bellow and achieve, breathe and have more life. Let the rivers run free until we do. I want to bellow, flowing red bloods of our sins, our hopes, our threads of living like we are human too. I want to bellow, let the ears be covered not to hear, and mask the heart from more lies and fear. Let the sight not be regained until pain has had its reign. Should we paint our doorsteps with red blood, Passover blues? I want to bellow. I want to bellow. I want to bellow. May we hang mass, but not in surrender, but to remember the tribal muse. My God, let us remember the names and bellow.
Wow, wow, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, as they say, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. That was powerful poetics from Miss Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal. Ameerah, thank you so much for sharing the poetry. And you are, in fact, a storyteller. So by all means, be encouraged, sister. Tell your stories. Continue to tell your stories. Because I surely felt it all up in here. The words, the imagery, the subject matter, the whole package. You really hit home with your work. And I want to encourage you, keep flowing. Keep flowing.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening and understanding and connecting. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now at this time, we're now going to move into what I call, it is now time for the audience Q&A session. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen in our audience, if you have a question or a comment for Amira, feel free to unmute yourself at this time and give your question or comment.
Hi, Sis Amira.
Hey, good to see you, girlie.
Good to see you. I just want to say, like, throughout the whole conversation, I felt like you're definitely both speaking to me and also telling my story. The part that resonated with me. Well, I mean, number one, when you mentioned the last poets and Sonia Sanchez, those are two, phenomenal people that have, impacted my poetry. And also when you said that, as a poet, you want to be relatable and you want the audience to be able to understand you, and that just reminds me of how you and I met. The time that I read my poetry and I thought that I had flopped, and I was about to just like melt into the floor, and then all of a sudden I turn around and I see your sweet face, behind me and talking to me and encouraging me, and it meant the world to me to have somebody just encourage me and tell me that that they liked my poetry and to keep it going. So I just want to say thank you to you for that. And I also appreciate the space that you created with your own platform to encourage, poets, I would say mostly women of color, to be able to have a platform and to share their story. And also another thing that I am relate to is how you said that sometimes you're afraid that people might think that your poetry is too sad. And I remember when I first published my book, I would tell everybody, I know that the first chapter is a little bit sad, so please excuse me, because, in the first chapter, I'm talking about social justice and, police brutality and all that other stuff. And I'm like, but if you get through the first chapter, it won't be that bad. So I am definitely relate to that. And I just want to, to encourage you, to keep going and to keep pressing and to continue to be the light that you are, because you're definitely a beacon to everybody that is joined to you. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And you keep it up too, sis. That day that we met is just exactly as you described it. I listened to some beautiful poetry and I said, I got to get out my seat and go tell that sister she did a great job.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I mean, it's in my head. I was like, you know what? This is the first and last time.
You never know who's out there listening.
Yes, I appreciate it. It is definitely a divine connection, and I appreciate it.
It definitely is, and I hope to see more of you and your work.
Likewise.
Awesome. Thank you, Katsuski, for that comment. And one question I want to ask Amira is, what does the immediate future hold for you? Now, I know you mentioned that you're working on another book, but do you have any other projects or events coming up that you would like to mention to our audience?
Yes, I am so overwhelmed with beautiful creative venues. So let's run it down. I hope I don't forget anything. Friday, when Women Speak is going on the road, we're going to be teaming up with Hartford Slit. We have a virtual performance of a variety of women speaking virtually on Friday. That'll be live on Facebook. Then we're going to take the not the same poets as Friday, a different set of women poets, because when Women Speaks now is international. So we have women all across the country, up and down the Eastern Coast, and also as far away as India. So Saturday, we're going to have in-person performances of some of the women from When Women Speak. I also have been asked to be a part of the Newark Arts Festival, sharing poetry. We have performances for When Women Speak in Baltimore, Maryland, which I will be putting out flyers for all of this. I don't expect anybody to remember all of this. And we're going to be a part of When Women Speak under the When Women Speak brand, the Patterson Poetry Fest. Yes. There's also something in Newark on, I'm going to look at, do you mind if I look real quick at the date?
Sure, no problem.
It's called Porch Fest, where they're doing poetry around the city. And I believe that's it's the 25th of September. So they're doing the porch poetry, a porch festival. So I've been asked to be a part of somebody's group for that, to do poetry. And those are some of the things. That's it. I don't want to take up the whole day.
That's awesome. Congratulations on those opportunities.
Yes.
Now, before we close out tonight, can you tell our audience where you can be found on social media?
Okay. On both IG and Facebook, I have the same name because I hate when people use different names and I don't know who I'm talking to on IG. So my name is, right, I just don't even know who they are. My name is Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal on both platforms. I don't think I have room for my, okay, I'll just say it. And I have a webpage. My webpage is ameerahsangles.com. Okay, ameerahsangles.com. So you can see my work, you can see my publications, you can see my magazine, you can see my artwork because I also sell art. You can see different episodes of When Women Speak there. You can also see or hear the podcast. So that's a very robust website. Again, it's called Ameerah's Angles because there's just about a lot of everything which makes up Ameerah on that site.
Awesome, awesome, excellent, excellent. Well, as we close out, I'm going to share one final screen, and I believe this is the most important thing that I do with every one of my podcasts, because I believe in the importance of saying thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank my guest, Ameerah Shabazz-Bilal, for sharing such powerful, powerful poetry. Very inspiring imagery, wordplay, I mean, the whole package. You know, thank you so much for blessing me and blessing my audience with your talent. I encourage you to keep pushing and pressing with your gifts. You are making an impact. Continue having that impact, because surely you have impacted me, and I'm quite sure you have impacted our audience tonight. So thank you so much. I want to thank my audience for tuning in. For those of you that are interested in following Poets with Purpose, you can find me on Facebook through the Facebook group Poets with Purpose. I'm also on Twitter @PoetsWPurpose. And there's the YouTube channel with the same name, dedicated to all things of the podcast, as well as open mic events. And if you happen to miss any events or podcasts, you can just go to the YouTube channel and replay everything that you may have missed. Now, the next podcast episode is to be announced. For more information, you can call me at 646-372-6230. You can email me at poetswithpurpose@gmail.com. And all of my graphics, flyers, and logos and whatnot has been created by the awesome team at Eclipse Graphics NY. You can go to their Instagram page @Eclipse Graphics NY to see samples of their work and reach out to them if you're interested in getting work done for yourself. And lastly, those of you wishing to make a donation to Poets with Purpose, you can make donations through PayPal, Cash App, and Zelle. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap on episode 17. Thank you, Amira. Thank you to my audience. Thank you all so much. This episode will be uploaded to the YouTube channel and will be available for all of you to circulate on your social media platforms later this evening. Thank you so much. Have a good evening and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.